everybody, it's Foxy speaking, and I thought I'd share some happy flashbackable memories from 2017. Yes, I thought I'd do so, yeah. And I have to say, 2019, sorry. But 2019 was really quite a good year. Now as we're in 2020 now. 2019, I do say, was a fantastic year. Not as good as 2017, which was... It was a good year, 2018, a year I certainly well liked. But 2017 was really fantastic compared to 2019. But I'm happy with that year, all the same. Went quite quickly, I do say. But I really got to share one of the best things about 2019. One of the things which I managed to succeed at was, oh gosh, it's going to be quite a big list. I say it's going to be quite a list when I share it, yes. Well, I was going to Slough, and what else was there? Oh, good gracious. The Slough train spotting, the Maidenhead train spotting, Cheddington trips, what else? Salford's and meeting Chucky, another train spotting fan of mine who comments on my channel every week or so, which I've been hearing from him for nearly 2 years now, and then we met at Salford's in July of 2019. And what else am I going to say? I say, the Isle of Wight, which was a nice holiday when I went in August. A bit worrying over poor Edmund, my step-grandfather. Bit sad, yes. And what else is there? Definitely HP Minch Railway. Well, every year is the best thing that ever happens to me whenever a year goes by is attending HP Miniature Railway. It's always great fun, tremendously and thoroughly great fun. Yes. And what else have I done? Oh, good gracious, it's getting quite complicated. It complicates in some ways when you're thinking about it, yes. What else am I going to think? Oh yes, the train spotting trip to Sway, yes. A train spotting trip to Weybridge, almost certainly Weybridge, yes. And Crawley bus station bus spotting. That was another great thing about 2019, and what else am I going to say? As it's meant to be happy flashbackable memories of 2019 into the new year of 2020. What else am I thinking of? What could guys say? It's quite tricky, you know. Good gracious. Oh gosh. Oh, sorry. Oh gosh. Oh, Eastbourne Miniature Steam Railway, yes, and all that, and so forth. Oh, and some of the greatest things about 2019 were dozens and dozens of Big Lemon bus rides I took in 2019, and also many of a great many of the bus driver friends I made, who work for the Big Lemon Bus and Coach Company when I met them, and the great many times I rode on the Big Lemon buses. It's really the greatest Big Lemon bus driver friend I have is Sydney. That's a really great thing. Yes, Sydney, George, Clarence, Mark and so forth, they were really just great Big Lemon bus driver friends of mine. And I do like being around all the friendly Big Lemon bus drivers. They make me feel like a great friend, I have to say. And particularly Sydney and George, I tell you. Yes. And it's certainly a pleasure meeting Sydney and George and all the others. Sadly, Harry left just before the end of 2019, sometime in October, November, I think. because I heard in October of 2019 Harry was leaving, which was quite sad, according to Sydney, that is. And one of the greatest things I found out about Sydney was that he sporadically works for Southern Transit's bus and coach company. He only does it sporadically on a Thursday, because sometimes on a Thursday he can do the legal and general. George doesn't do legal and general, but Sydney does, and so does Clarence. And a few others and all that. Yes, another really great happy flashbackable memory about 2019 was making friends with loads of the Big Lemon Bus and Coach Company bus drivers, including Sydney and George, and, ouch. And, oh, sorry, And, yes, and, the Southern Transit bus rides I made and some of the friends I made with them, including Henry, Terry, Nicholas, and also Sydney is also my friend who works for Southern Transit Bus and Coach Company. Sydney, Henry, Terry, Nicholas and all that. I haven't made friends with any of the others yet, and but I hope I do soon. Now, I'm certainly intending to do Southern Transit at some point in 2020, and in the future whenever I get a Thursday 3 and all that. And the Isle of Wight Steam Railway, another happy flashbackable memory of mine, certainly a happy flashbackable memory, yes. And also, a very funny thing was I also asked Sydney and George out for a beer. Yes, and I asked George, how many pints of beer can you drink in one evening? He was like, I don't drink. I was like, you don't drink? And he said, no, of course not. I'm a Muslim. I was like, I'm sorry, you're a what? He said, I'm a Muslim. I was like, really? He said, yes. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. That's what I said. He was like, oh, that's fine, don't worry. Alcohol is forbidden. What's that? Alcohol is forbidden. That's what George said. Alcohol is forbidden. Also, Sydney's a Muslim too, just to say, because he's been a Muslim for about 5 years, I think, Sydney. George, according to Sydney, George was a Muslim about 3 years ago or so. And also another great thing was seeing Terence the cat, as always, with at my grandparents. But I wonder how he's feeling over poor Edmund, who's really not very well, poor man. And that's my step-grandfather, Edmund, yeah. I mean, he's not even that old yet, and he already looks very old for a man his age. Poor man. What else? There are several Southern Vectis bus trips. God's Hill Model Village, which I visited for the first time in 2019. I went there twice. Brighton Model Railway Museum. No, Brighton Toy Museum, sorry, I keep getting confused. Oh, silly old me, I say. Silly me. Oh, I say, aren't I a little bit of a ghoulish, clumsy man? Oh. Yes, and also another really fantastic thing was hearing from Stepney to Stepney, sporadically from Henry of Agincourt, and certainly hearing from East Sussex Rail Productions, and I saw Eastie once early in 2019, and Matt and so forth. And also another happy thing about me in 2019 was finding out about Buster Martin, which was one of the funniest things I found out about 2019. It wouldn't be funny if I did what he did in real life, but finding out about it was quite funny, yes. And making friends with Arthur, UK lift and bus enthusiast, and Arthur's transport videos, and Eli Russell. I've met Arthur's transport videos once before at Worthing Bus Rally, and I met Arthur, the UK lift and bus enthusiast, and Eli Russell. I met them twice in 2019 at Hove Park Miniature Railway, and they were great. They're great friends, I must admit. They're really great friends. And who else did I also saw Jeff Marshall at King's Cross station on the 21st, just before the end of 2019, just 4 days before Christmas and before 2020 started. Certainly within days before 2020 started. And making some friends with some of the newer Hove Park Miniature Railway volunteers, which were Adam and Alfie, who are both very, very close friends. And they definitely know Trains, who volunteers there. And Trains definitely knows Adam and Alfie, almost certainly. And sharing a great many things with the HV volunteers, including Glyn, who I shared the Buster Martin story with, and Trains. And Glyn, when I... oh... probably won't share it. I even shared it to Sydney and George, the Buster Martin story, and Clarence too. Yes, and so a few Compass Bus rides was a great thing about 2019. Oh, and Rickmansworth, also Rickmansworth, yes, I forgot that. And London Marylebone, yes, and so forth. I've had many happy flashbackable memories. Certainly the Isle of Wight ones and the Rickmansworth, Slough, Maidenhead and so forth. Yes, honestly, profoundly excellent memories, I say. Yes, profoundly excellent. And a great many happy memories, you know. Yes, almost certainly, I tell you. Yes. And what else? Yes, and all that, and so forth, yes, and it's going to be going on and so on and so on. So what? Oh, gosh. Yes. Oh, and I say, well, what else was I going to say? Oh, I'm watching the Aristocats of the 1970 cartoon, Disney cartoon, Aristocats. Was a great thing about 2019. I'm watching Pete's Dragon, a very funny hybrid, which is live action and also animated with the dragon. Pete's Dragon 1977, not the 2016 one. Because I really do like Pete's Dragon, I have to say I do like that movie. The 1977 version, I like it. It's Helen Reddy and Mickey Rooney, Pete's Dragon. Yes. I look in your eyes and you whisper sweetly. We don't match in size, but we fit so neatly. That's Elliot, the dragon. Honestly, I do idolise that Disney character, but my most favourite Disney character of all time is Kevin, the giant bird from Disney Pixar's Up. Kevin! Chocolate! Oh. Imagine a bird who goes crazy for chocolate. Oh, I say. Yes. And, oh gosh, what else was I going to say? Definitely and all that. Oh my goodness again! I say, oh. What else was I going to say? Oh yes, hearing from other train sponsors, including Vortiver, the American train sponsor I heard from a few times back in 2019, and sometimes Leathersnade and Diesel, and Nathan, who's London Tube TV, and he's always very a pleasure and really nice hearing from him. Yes. And another fantastic and happy flashbackable memory was doing the great big bus trip, Foxy's great big bus trip, my bus trip, on the 20th of June 2019, was by taking a 47 from Hove Park Tavern bus stop to Knowle Estate, Goodwin Road, Knowle Estate, well Godwin technically road, and Donal was driving, and then I took the 16 from Godwin Road, Knowle Estate, towards Olive Road, Portslade. Clarence was driving the 16, Clarence was. Got out, and before I knew it there was a 2 to Stenning, got the 2 from, Isabel Crescent to Bramber Castle, on the Brighton Hove Bus Route 2. Got out of Bramber Castle, and then got the Compass Bus Route 100 from Bramber Castle to Burgess Hill, then got the Metro Bus Route 273, sorry, from Burgess Hill towards Brighton, and then got the 47 again, and Donal again was driving it, from Brighton towards Hove Park Tavern and back home. It was just a great bus adventure. And another good thing was Eastleigh. Going to Eastleigh railway station, seeing the 66s, the South West trains and so forth and so forth. I even met two enthusiasts who didn't... There was an elderly one who was about 70, I think, and another one, I don't know how old he was, he didn't have a camera. And both men were very keen beer drinkers. They weren't alcoholics, but they were keen beer drinkers. And they were very close friends despite their age gap. Which was quite amazing, I have to tell you. And also another absolutely fantastic thing about 2018 was when I was on the Big Lemon Bus Route 57 back on the 2nd of June 2019, which was a Sunday. Sydney was driving it. It was Sydney who was driving. I met a man who met Britain's oldest man ever, and one of our last surviving World War I veterans, an elderly man. And the Britain's oldest man ever who'd ever lived was Henry Allingham. And the man who I met, he met Henry Allingham on the bus. And he told me his story about what it was like meeting him, and it was like what it was like seeing him and how he was and all that. Yes, who lived to be 113, Henry Allingham did. Yes, and he was quite amazed too. And he said Henry Allingham was doing quite well even when he was 110. Well, certainly when he was 110, he did pretty well, yes. He did quite well, if I may say so, yes. He could. I heard you could walk him from one place to another in the home he worked in when Henry Allingham was 110. But when he got to about 112, in like the latter year of his life or so, the man who knew him and worked with him, and along with other elderly people at the Blind Veterans Nursing Home, was where he worked, formerly St Dunstan's. He said Henry Allingham had to use a wheelchair regularly. Of course, and he said also Henry Allingham had had enough at that point. Certainly at the time of his 113th, he did look as if he'd gone quite downhill. Henry Allingham sadly died in 2009 at the age of 113 years 42 days. So he managed to make it 6 weeks past after his 113th birthday. It was sad when he died, but of course 113 is nothing but astonishing. And it was really profoundly awarding to have met the man who met Henry Allingham. It really was. And I really enjoyed talking to him, actually. He doesn't work at the home now because he's 77 now. Born in 1942, this man was. He was 76 as his birthday's in November. I'm not telling you his date of birth because that'd be risky, far too risky. But he was 76 at the time, and he only looked about 64, in my opinion. Despite having a defibrillator fitted, he looked surprisingly good for 76 and surprisingly well. Well, he certainly looked well compared to Edmund, who's a few years younger than he is, yes, almost certainly, and he looks better than my grandma. No offence to her. And also a great many things about 2019 was trying a great few pubs in 2019. And I went to this pub. There's a pub not too far from just across the road from one of the entrances at Preston Park Station, which I recommend many of you guys should go in when you're certainly my age. I went in, this was on the 19th of August 2019, after train spotting at Bolcombe Station and seeing a few family members. I went to the pub and had a steak and chips meal, and you won't believe this. I had 2 gin and tonics afterwards. They weren't doubles, they were singles. And my parents were like, "How many G&Ts did you have?" And I was like, 2, double or single? Single. And it didn't go too badly. Yes. And it was a very, very intriguing thing. I didn't say too much about it, I only revealed it a few months later on. It was on the 15th, 4 days prior, I snuck 1.5 pints of Amstel beer after train spotting at Preston Park Station, and then just walked home, which was quite surprising. But don't worry, I don't drink far too much. I only drink from time to time, but not repeatedly, because I'm not an alcoholic, no. I'm obviously not Buster Martin, who drank far too much. No, not him. Definitely not Buster Martin, no. And that's another story, sharing, which I probably won't share right now because we'd be here for far too long. But the Buster Martin story is another story. And, well, another one of my flashbackable memories it was quite pleasing, was my 18th birthday, which was in June of 2019. One of the days I inhaled a great big sea bass and rice meal after a salmon and rice meal and a starter, then inhaled a dessert, and that absolutely stomached me. It really, really stomached me, I have to say. But I was well enough next day, and I had a party celebration with my family, and had a glass of sherry, a glass of red wine, glass of white wine, and 3 pints of beer over a lengthy period on my birthday. I was a bit tipsy. Had a great big lunch. I don't usually eat hugely big breakfasts, but I usually eat a normal sized breakfast every day. Had a great big lunch, which I don't often do because I don't usually tend to get very hungry. Well, I do get hungry, but I don't eat particularly large portions of food. And then had a great big dinner of fish and chips afterwards, and then had the last amount, which equal to 3 pints, the beers of course. It was over a lengthy period, so I didn't get too drunk, but I was tipsy all the same. The next day I went out for a roast on the Sunday with my family at the Connaught pub in Hove, almost definitely. And my mother thought there was an elderly lady there, and she thought she was having a go at me, but thank goodness she wasn't. No. She was just saying she was a great lady, but my mother had something against her. But I didn't, because I knew she was respectable enough, and I respected her. Yes, I even met some elderly people on the train on the way to Sway, and one of the elderly people it was on the Great Western train, it was on the 165, which I went on. I didn't film that journey, but oh, sorry. Oh. It was an Irish lady, actually, who, in her late 70s, and her husband was in his 80s. It was very, very intriguingly surprising when she shared it with me, that she knew a man who's 106. I don't know if he's still alive now. I think he'd probably be about coming up for 107 now. This was up in Chippenham. This elderly lady knew this man. She said, I don't know if you know this, but the man who lives not too far from me, he's 106. That's the story she shared with me on the train. I remember it very vividly. I was like, oh my goodness, he's 106. I was like, does he look good for 106? A bit, not quite on the schedule, or quite the question. And the lady was like, yes, he looks very good for 106. He's upright, stands upright, not even in a wheelchair at 106. I mean, despite the fact he now uses a stair lift, but managed the stairs too, even a few years past his century, still managed the stairs according to her, which is quite impressive actually, to be over 100 and still manage the stairs, even living a few years past your century. I have to say. And not only that, we have a man in this country who's going to be 112 this year. Yeah, so going a bit off the track. Oh dear. The Cheddington trips was a great thing. Happy flashbackable memory of 2019. Sorry. And that was a great flashbackable memory of 2019. And what else am I going to share? Oh, gracious me. And another funny but good flashbackable memory was trying many pubs, but at the station pub I went to a pub quiz and I gulped 3 pints of beer and got absolutely staggered. and the next morning I woke up with a dreadful hangover. And, oh dear. And another great thing about 2019, happy flashbackable memory of 2019, was not only the Slough, Maidenhead and all the other Isle of Wight bus trips and the other train trips and all that, but a few pubs, and I went to the Milo Kin in November of 2019, which was great, and I had a meal there, and a lemonade. I didn't have any alcohol, even though I do drink, but I'm not the kind of person who just wants to keep on drinking repetitively, no. It's very intriguing to you guys, but I met a 74-year-old man in the pub, and he drank 3 pints of beer at 74 years of age. The man's name's Ken, by the way. Yes, but Ken was quite impressive, because I think it's impressive if anyone's over 65 and they have a tolerable capacity of drinking more than 2 pints in one evening beyond 65. I personally think it's impressive, and he was 74, only looked like 60-something. I wouldn't have thought he was 70 even. He didn't act it either, and certainly didn't act his age. But he was a very interesting man, a real character, and it was impressive how he managed to walk out the pub after 3 pints. I mean, I could walk out the pub after 3 pints, but not very well. I mean, certainly when I gulped the 3 pints, I couldn't walk out the pub very well, but I could just about walk home. I think if I got to 4 or 5 pints, then I'd be on the floor and I'd have to be dragged out of the pub. You know. Dear oh dear. There are many more flashbackable memories, but I don't know if I should share far too many of them. But so yes, anyway, those are all the happy flashbackable memories of 2019. Few drawbacks, unfortunately, was sadly old Keith passed away earlier in 2019, who you may have seen, who lived in Minster. He sadly died on 23rd of November 2019, aged 92. And his death did affect me a bit, and I did go quite downhill following his death, and I did inform Sydney and George of his death, and they were like, oh, George was like, oh no, and they said, oh, how sad. Yes, it was very sad when Keith went. He was a great family relative of mine. You know, he was 92, but he wasn't too happy in the end. Because last year he had a very bad fall, Keith did, and then faced hospitalisation around the Thanet area in Kent for at least 3 months. And he had to go into a home, but sadly all he had in the very latter of his life was 0 mobility, a slight inability of reading, and a complete loss of independence, which was that's why he wasn't very happy in the latter year of his life. No. Oh well, but may Keith rest in peace, as we said many times. Of course not on video. But very sorry to say, but old Keith sadly passed away in 2019, which was a drawback of 2019. Sadly, poor Edmund wasn't very well. Poor man. I mean, he's still alive now, but he's not particularly well. What else was there? Another downfall, not quite a drawback, was during the summer of 2019 I drank far too much alcohol over a lengthy period of the summer. I was drinking too much because I got very hooked to alcohol. But I wasn't like an alcoholic, but I drank a little bit too much over the summer. And it took me until the 10th of September of 2019 to slow down my drinking habit. Thank goodness I haven't become an alcoholic, but I did get a bit too attached to drinking alcohol. I wasn't like a bad alcoholic, but I was just a bit obsessed with it. Not like too obsessed like the alcoholics, but thank goodness I'm keeping it under control now. Yes, but anyway, those are all my flashbackable memories. Sorry if I had to share the saddening bits. Yes, those are all my flashbackable memories of 2019. Hope you guys, and yes, I'm sure many of you have flashbackable memories of 2019, and I think I lived 2019 quite to the fullest, like I did with 2017. Well, I'd seen it to the fullest, not quite lived it. Really, ideally, when you say to doing something to the fullest, it's describing you living life to the fullest. Yes, I haven't done it yet. I've got years to go. But it may sound as if I've lived my life quite to the fullest, but I haven't quite lived it fully, completely yet. I've got years to go. Yes, but quite certainly. Yes. Yes. But thank you very, very much. Those are my happy flashbackable memories of 2019. I'm sure many of you have happy flashbackable memories of 2019. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye, everybody.